everyone, it's Rob Golfi here with REMAX, the Golfi team, and I got Conrad Zerini with REMAX Escarpment, REMAX Niagara, broker, owner of two big companies, and he probably owns a lot more companies than just those two big companies. And I got Brian Hogbin, Mission 35 Mortgages. We're going to talk about the one thing I want to talk about is the one thing about Conrad, what you do for the agents, and I don't know if all the agents use it, but you've got tools that are incredible. So, I mean, I don't think there's any other brokerage out there that has what you do. So
yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
So what Conrad does, he comes out with of what's happening in the appointment center. So it gives an indication like, hey, you better pick up your socks because business is happening, appointments are happening, which is good because I follow this thing, I print this thing every week, I read it, I look at it, and and every realtor should look at it. So you came out with your ultra rare events. I'm going to read this out here. So these are words from Conrad. Only 4 Fridays from 2019 to 2025 cracked the 600 mark on is that Fridays or showings in one booked in one day?
Booked in one day, yeah. The show Friday books, yeah, books, yeah.
Friday exactly, booked in one day. Yeah. So April 9th, 2021, yeah, that was a great spring and year. March 25, 2022. That was probably the end of the market changing in first quarter in 2022. Yeah. May 12th, 2023, and March 21st, 2025. That's less than 1%, one per year on average, which tells us this isn't a normal market behavior. It's a response to market urgency. That we have had 4 consecutive weeks of positive growth in appointments week over week, which has never occurred. Excuse me, I don't have my glass on. This all points to a shift in buyer psychology, which makes for a very dynamic market. Words from Conrad Zerini. Go ahead, Conrad.
You got the floor. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I love that what we've done is we have all these stats and we've created a stat bot. So it's so easy for me to pull out some of that historical information and then kind of put it all together. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I think what's happening here is, there's another word too that there's the uncertainty in the market. I think that's fueling things. And we all know that's overused. But I have a strange suspicion that those people that were sitting on the fence, this is the moment they say, look, if I'm going to get in the market, I'm going to get in now because, Rob, you just said it before we got on the call here. Yes, if the tariffs don't come, the market goes whoosh. If the tariffs do come, I got a house and I've entered the housing market. So and they're going to beg, borrow, and steal. I always say never underestimate the fortitude of the Canadian home buyer. Grandma, grandpa, everybody, we're all in. We want to get into this housing market, and a lot of that family, generational family, wants their kids to get in there. They'll help them if things go awry, but yeah, it's an interesting time. So they're thinking, let's be strategic, let's get in. I don't know if my job is in jeopardy down the road, but at least I'm in the market and I'm secure in the whole 9 yards, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and I think
people always find their way.
I think Bank of Canada has a little bit of play on that too. Like we saw Bank of Canada, remember right before the March interest rate announcement, it was maybe it's going to stay still, right? And then they dropped a quarter point. So then I think there's a lot of people thinking we're very close to the bottom as well too, because now the stats are saying there's almost a 75% chance of the rate staying the same for the April meeting. So if we're already at the bottom then, and we had all this pent up demand of people waiting, to your point, it's like, okay, Ma, Pa, let's get in the market. And then the other thing too is, to your point, Conrad, and Rob, the tariffs. We've already seen one lender claw back lending restrictions based on the industry that you're in. Okay. So, this big blue bank, you can pick out which one it is, but they ended up being like, hey, they made a slight adjustment. Now, in all reality, like there's a slight adjustment on the affordability. It's not cataclysmic, but it's a publicized restriction for people in that industry.
Was that a big blue, light blue or dark blue?
It's a big mother.
And it's got a circle.
A big
got a red circle.
Okay. So you put it together. Okay.
Well, what are the lists? Come on, Brian, tell us what's on the list. I remember
Oh,
seeing trucking. What is it?
everything is on the list. That's the funny part on it. Honestly,
Oh,
they
wow.
actually put trucking on the list. They put manufacturing on the list. They put even banking and finance on the list. So, so that's a lender that's saying like, hey, we're concerned about what's happening and and I think what happens there is now you have mortgage people saying, and we've seen this before, if you have an approval before there's a pen stroke, before there's a change, go out and utilize your approval. Go out and get in the housing market, because that approval, we've seen it happen over the past decade so many times, where now it gets clawed back 10, 20, 30, 40 grand, or you can't buy. So I think with all these indications right now, it's a great opportunity for them to jump into the market.
So what's the longest you can get a pre-approval for? 120 days, or is it 90 days?
120 days.
Like if I come into your office right now, Brian, I said, listen, I want to get a pre-approval. It's 120 days locked in, right?
Yep. So you get the rate locked in for 120 days. And what you want to do too is you're getting pre-approved, make sure people are checking your income. There's a quick qualifier and an actual pre-approval. A quick qualifier is when someone at a bank or a mortgage broker says, you told me you make 200 grand, you told me this, you told me that, but they didn't verify anything. And there's what we always say in the industry, there's what you make, and then there's what you tell your friends you make.
Right.
Always very different. Okay.
Brian, they're always different.
Yeah. Oh, I make 100 grand. No, you make 92,000. That's not.
Yeah.
I like the roundup.
What is the most unprepared thing that most buyers, when they come to the table and they're sitting down with you guys, what is the biggest problem that you find that they're not prepared when you're getting information from them? Is it their income tax, or is it like what don't they have organized? What's the one big thing?
I would end up saying it is income verification documents, right? Like in today's fraud society, unfortunately, and we're getting better with some AI, with some tools that are coming into play. But we need notice of assessment. For a lot of people, you need T4, you need 2 years. Sometimes for self-employed, you need bank statements. Sometimes you need invoices. There is a lot of stuff in order to verify now. And Conrad actually had a great idea at a teaching session. We're going to start giving out bottles of champagne, not for closing, but for when you give all the documents to us that we need. That's going to be the new.
No kidding.
Right? But
that's the milestone, right? It's the milestone, right?
Yeah, because it's the pressure cooker's done then, right? It's like, all right, but that is it. People underestimate the amount of income, and the other thing too is make sure you get it in quick, because when you drag your legs, income expires after 30 days. So if you're thinking about getting a refinance or a renewal, and you give me your pay stub, and then I ask for a letter of employment, and you're busy, and then all of a sudden 3 or 4 weeks goes by, guess what? You need everything new again.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So you got to get everything all at one shot, and boom, and
get it done. It's a pain in the butt, but get it done and get it in fast.
Gotcha.
That's cool. But Rob, you were going to say something before, before Brian started talking about the resilience and people make it work. Right, when they're buying in the market, right? You see it all the time, right?
Like it's, like people for some reason do find a way, if they lose their jobs. I mean, they go through that traumatic point where, oh my God, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to afford this? How am I going to afford this? And then all of a sudden, once that traumatic moment happens, the next day they wake up, you know what, they're saying to their spouse, hey, guess what, honey, we can do this, we're going to make this thing happen, let's just keep going. And it like people find a way to make it through. They do somehow. It works out, they end up getting another job. Like they start thinking positive. Right now they took a bone crusher, they just took a hit, and they're sucking in it, but then the next day, fresh day, now they start thinking positive, and positive things happen if you think positive, right? We all know that.
Yeah. And you know what? I'd rather be thinking positive and making it work in my home than in a rental, right? Because if you lose your job, I still got to pay my rent.
I still got to pay,
I still got to pay.
So and the rental
myself.
And the rental numbers are interesting now. If you a stat just came out that seniors, seniors now surpassed millennials in renting. What that's telling me is rent got so high that now these millennials are saying, I want to get into the market, right? Because exactly to your point, Brian, if I'm renting for X, I might as well be buying for Y. And you know what I'm saying? That's what's pushing it. So now we're seeing this group of first-time buyers coming into this market, looking at this, if you want to call it this unperfect storm or perfect storm of, we've got six basis points between variable and fixed. That seems to be looking pretty good. Prices have stabilized. We're now seeing pockets where they're inching up month over month. So, and the other thing is I got to get in before the door closes on me when the banks start to pull back. So yeah, this is the perfect time. And you're seeing consumers being very strategic about getting into the market right now. That's what I think.
Do you think they're going to pull back on the Arcelor or whatever, Dofasco and Stelco workers? You think if they're looking at it, they're going to look at them twice because of the steel industry is going to get hit one of the hardest ones with the aluminum and steel?
I think there's internal policies and external policies with banks, right? And the big mother of the bank that came out with the external one, all the other ones have internal underwriting that are basically saying, you know what? It's kind of like when COVID happened, they said, hey, if anybody's in the restaurant, hospitality industry or things like that, we want to scrutinize that a little bit more because there's going to be challenges. So I think 100% there's going to be additional security there and scrutiny.
Okay, two things. My understanding is that we get a lot of glass from the U.S. and which windows are made here in Canada.
Yep.
And
but the glass.
And the glass is made for housing and buildings and stuff. That's one. Appliances. How much do you think that will affect the builders and developers that are developed? Like, for instance, Leona's got a complex, 600 units. They got to buy appliances for all those 600 units. They did not expect this tariff thing happening. No. You think they, before this was happening, you think they bought 600, what do you call it, dishwashers and fridge stoves and washer and dryers? They probably didn't. Now they're looking at, holy smokes, this can cost them an extra, what, $5,000, $3,000 per unit?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is like how much of the U.S. market that we buy, like those are two things. Like, is it gonna?
Well, that's why the punitive tariffs is a problem, and that's why the Home Building Association, all of them are saying, please, let's not do this because that'll be the nail in the coffin because we will grind to a complete halt. HVAC, 40% of all HVAC comes from the U.S. There's so much misinformation. The guy that runs, it's an American guy that bought Stelco, right? He was saying last time they had tariffs, they did so well in the domestic market because their steel was cheaper domestically. But he forgets they were selling to the auto industry, which wasn't affected. Now, domestically, he's going to be selling to the auto industry, which they have a huge tariff exporting to Canada, from Canada to the U.S. So even the CEO at the top of the pyramid doesn't really understand that this is really a domino effect, and that domestic market that they saw huge domestic sales, and they did huge profits when there was the tariffs going into the U.S. domestically. But now they have no one to sell to domestically because Trump's cutting them off at the knees in terms of exporting cars. So there you go.
Wouldn't he have advisors and saying this is what could happen if you do this? Like, or is like, I mean, does he have that much power? Like, don't they have to vote for this in Congress or whatever, in the Senate or whatever it is?
No, tariffs is that's executive order. That's done. Yeah. And anyway, he's got both houses, and you know what? Look, they have to go another way to rattle his cage, and he is losing some support amongst the Republicans, especially those swing states that voted for him. That sometimes go Democrat in a lot of cases. I don't know. It's going to be interesting how it all turns out. April Fools will not be the first anymore. It'll be April 2nd. It's going to be. Yeah. It'll be a Trump Fool Day.
No kidding.
I don't know.
And he's going hard and fast on this just because he's only got 4 years, right? Well, actually, he's only got 2 years of control. After that, he's they have to vote again. Will he get that? He may
the
not.
Midterms.
No. Yeah, the midterms.
I think he's got 9 months.
That.
I think he's got 9 months to turn this around, because if he doesn't turn around in 9 months in a year, the midterms come fast, and
it's going to hurt him.
They'll start campaigning already, I would say tail end of 2026. They'll campaign. By the time he knows it, the midterms, he's going to be toast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think he knows that, and that's why he's going hard on and fast on it. I think he's hoping that there's results from it. But will it bring us into a recession? What do you think? I think we were in a recession not that long ago.
You're probably right.
Yes. Like I think we came out of one. And the great thing about the news now and the government, they don't use the word recession. But do you think it's going to hurt the economy? It will. I mean, if we lose jobs in Hamilton and other manufacturing plants and that we export, it's definitely going to take a little bit of a toll.
It will take a hit, and in the short term, that'll be more cost to drop rates again, right?
Yeah.
Then, you know, that's how you stimulate spending. In the long term, I don't know. That's a little bit tougher to say, but in the short term, when there's bad news, it looks favorable for cost of borrowing, right? Because they can make money flow better.
But I'll tell you, it's that lever is, you know, the BOC and even the Federal Reserve, they only have that lever like forward, backwards, like, you know, up, down. Like it's, even Powell said, you got to read the notes from the last Federal Reserve meeting. He actually went out to the audience at the press conference and said, what would you do to all the financial reporters? Say, what would you do? Look, guys, you're going to see inflation, job losses. Like that's something that's not in the play. Like it's usually job loss and we ease off, and inflation we go higher. With inflation, you go with higher rates. Job losses, you drop. How do you do when you got inflation high and job losses? Like I can't go. I'm going to be in neutral. That's why he's saying I got to wait and see. So it's interesting. Watch his. You got to watch the comments out of him, and because they've got some interesting numbers they're seeing before we all do.
Awesome. Well, guys, listen. Thank you for your time. And if you want to keep following us, check us out on YouTube. That's where it is now.
Hey.
Check us out on YouTube. You'll be able to find all the podcasts that we've done. We're over. I think we're coming up to our third or fourth year.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's wild. How many shows? How many? So we're talking like 150.
How many shows have we had? 100. No, it's we may hit 200 by the summer. Is it?
Oh wow, that's cool.
Next year, but 100. So it's 135 shows. Amazing, guys. That's amazing. And you thought this was just going to last maybe 6 weeks.
When it comes to you, guys, Rob, I never doubt your fortitude, man. You're awesome. You are awesome, man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Take care. Ciao.